Good morning. Welcome back to our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia. Well, today's project, and it's probably going to be on and off for 3 or 4 days anyways, is what I'm going to call a preservation restoration on this beautiful 1910 Singer sewing machine and cabinet. I met some very, very nice people the other day, and they had asked me if I could help them with their grandmother's sewing machine, and I said sure I can. And I came over to take a look at it, and it's in exceptionally good shape for a machine of its age, and the people are very sensitive to its history and to its antique appearance, and they would like me to preserve that the best they can. There's a lot of patina on this, including a large discoloration on the top here that I will show, and they really want to leave that. They just want it redone so it looks good, any repairs are taken care of, and it's stabilized and it can be used. And I just think that's wonderful, and I love projects like this, so I'm excited to get started on it. In addition to finish issues, it has a number of veneer chips. It has some loose veneer that's going to have to get glued down. It's got some veneer cracks that I think may have been repaired in the past, that we're going to try to get those a little bit flatter than they are. The machine itself, I'm not going to do anything with other than clean it. It's got a electric adapter kit on it, an original Singer electric motor kit that will disconnect the machine and get that off of here. And then I'm going to disassemble this. I probably won't disassemble the cast iron base. I'm just going to clean that up for them. But I'm going to disassemble the entire case and do the repairs that are necessary, and then refinish it and preserve its patina. The finish on this is the original shellac, and again, this is, I believe, from 1910, and that's consistent. We know that lacquer became popular around 1920. So I'm going to preserve that by refinishing this in shellac when the time comes. But let me bring you in here and show you some of the issues that we're dealing with, and then we'll get started. And on the right side of the machine, you can see this dark streak here, and the owner is fine leaving that. They're fine leaving this. I don't know if you can see this here, but there's 2 veneer cracks that are a little bit raised. It's going to be difficult. I believe they may have been glued back down sometime along the way, but we'll do our best to get those flattened out. You can see here in the corner we have some chipped missing veneer, and if I can get you in on the right angle, and I hope you can see this, this shellac finish is crystallizing or alligatoring, and in many, many places it's missing. And when you look at this from a distance, it doesn't look it, but it's clearly got a compromised finish all over it, and we really just can't stabilize that. I believe that needs to do a really thorough job. That needs to come off and new finish put down. We have areas all over the machine of sun bleaching or wear bleaching, so the color on the top is not uniform. We'll do our best to do something with that. And here's the inside of the lid, and you can see in raking light just how much finish is missing, and you have this large area here where the finish is all alligatoring, and I hope you can see that. But from this view here, there you go. You can see that this entire area is alligatored and cracked, and that needs to come off. There's the machine. It's just beautiful, and for those of you that are interested in the retrofit kit, here's the motor, and the pulley goes right around the pulley there, and then down below the switch mounts, and there's a little hook that goes to this shaft that comes off this ball joint, and when you push down on the treadle, which would normally turn the entire treadle assembly, you're pulling down on that switch and activating the motor. It's really, really cool, and it has the original light with it too. I'm not an expert in Singer machines and the value of these components, but I would suspect that this is probably not a common thing, and I suspect that a collector would probably love to have this just as it is. Let's continue with our assessment of what we're dealing with. And I've tucked the sewing machine back inside the cabinet, and you can see on the lid we have two big places here where the finish is compromised and it's gotten very light. You know, we have some chips, dings, and stains. We have this here, and the owners are fine leaving that the way it is. We'll see how that responds as we continue to work on this. I may ask them to come over and make a decision on how they want to handle this. I think it looks fine, and a patch here, no matter how well we try to conceal it, might be unsightly, but we'll decide on that later. And there's a chip right there. The biggest veneer issues we have are on this side, and you can see here we have a very big area where the veneer is coming up, and it's curved and buckled, and it's very, very springy. And I'm not exactly sure why. It almost feels soft, but I think once it's down, it's going to be fine. And we have veneer splits here, a veneer split here, a veneer split here, and this corner here has got numerous veneer issues and some missing veneer right along the turn here. So looking at that from above, that's going to be the focus of our major veneer repairs to the top. Now coming down to the drawers, this drawer here has a pretty significant veneer loss right here, and this at one time I believe was beveled. The other one is also beveled, but it looks like it may have broken off years ago as well. We're going to keep that the way it is. The owners are happy with that, and these drawer fronts will just get cleaned up. However, this one here, we're going to try to do a veneer patch to at least bring the veneer up to the level of this, and then when the drawer is pushed in, it's going to look fine with that veneer leveled with that, just as that one is there. And the other drawers, the drawer faces are in good shape, although they have paint splatters on them and dirt from years of storage. The front drawer is in good shape. We're going to leave that alone. We'll just clean that up. And then you may have noticed on the right side of the machine, between drawers 1 and 2, we're missing a cross piece here. If we pull this drawer out and pull the other drawer out, you can see what's missing. And it's a piece of oak that would go from here across, just like this one below does. So we're going to have to fabricate and install this piece. I don't have the hardware to put the locks in, but that's not important. But what we'll do is fabricate this piece. Now this machine, as you know, is over 100 years old, and it was done in quarter sawn oak. And I have 100-year-old quarter sawn oak up in the attic. And if you remember the video we did called The Furniture Corner, we had that beautiful piece of quarter sawn oak tabletop. I still have that, and I'm going to cut out the wood for this repair from that. So we'll have consistent, I believe, to be old growth quarter sawn oak in this repair, and that should blend in nicely. And then as far as the metal base goes, right now they would just like me to clean this up. I don't know as there's a reason to repaint this whole thing, but when we get it out and get a better look at it, we'll know. That'll be up to them to decide if they want me to do that for them. But that's the project. So I think the first step is to get the machine off of the cabinet, and then get the cabinet disassembled, get the base off, and then once we have everything apart, we'll start on the veneer repairs. So this should be an exciting project. I know I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very time consuming, but that's okay. When we get done, it's going to be beautiful. So thumbs up for preservation restorations, and let's get to work. And we're getting ready to take the machine out of the cabinet, and because of this retrofit electric kit, we got to disconnect the electric motor from the switch down below so we can get the machine off. And this is the wire right here that tethers it to the switch. So what I'm going to do is unscrew this screw or bolt here and then this motor assembly will come off, and we'll flip it over and see if we can easily disconnect the wires from this. Got all the wires marked. What I did, now I'm not an electrician, guys, so bear with me. We've got this pole here, which I've labeled as 1. This pole here I've labeled as 2, and this pole here I've labeled as 3. Now looking at the wires that come from the lamp, one goes to pole 1 and one goes to pole 3, and it has its own independent switch. So I have to think that 1 and 3 are positive and negative. Whether 1 is negative or 1 is positive, I'm not sure. But I think that's positive and negative. Now the wire coming from the switch goes to 1, and then it goes to 2. And then the motor wire goes to 3 and then to 2. So what I'm postulating in my head is that 3 is the ground, and the switch is taking current from 1 to the switch, and then when the switch is activated, it's bringing current to 2, and 2 is really just a common junction, which would allow the current then to go to the motor, and the ground being 3. I'm going to suggest to the owners, if they're going to use this electric motor, that they get this rewired at a competent motor shop, because these cloth wires are very old and this could be a fire hazard for them. But I will just disconnect and reconnect them the best I can, and they'll make a decision as to what they're going to do with this motor when they get it back. This little, I guess I'm going to call it a junction box, it's probably not the right term, has to come off with this screw so that there's room enough to pull that last connector off. So let me set you down and see if I can get you this shot, but I'm working really, really tight space here. And with that off, I can get the last cap off. And what do I notice but that they've got this marked 1, 2, and 3. And it's just that I marked it 3, 2, and 1. What do you know? Okay, let me get this last cap off, get this buttoned up, and let's start getting this machine out of here. And with the motor and switch disconnected, we should be able to get this right out of here now. And if you remember from our other videos, there should be, there's a set screw underneath. Let me take you off the stand and show you. And as you remember from our other Singer disassemblies, we have this dog hinge with this shaft that goes up inside the recess in the casting. It's then held in with this set screw. Try to get you so you can see it. There you go. And to get these off, we just have to loosen these set screws, back them out, and then lift the machine straight up. So that's what I'll be doing to get this machine off of here. There we go. And the next step of what I'm going to do is completely disassemble this machine. I've video documented the disassembly of these machines on the prior video that we did on the 1910 Singer, the first Singer sewing machine disassembly. So if you're interested in that, I refer you to that video. I'll link it below. But what I'm going to do now is just get to work getting this whole machine taken apart. And a quick tip for you, what I normally do as a practice is as I take these screws out, I put them in an adjacent area so that when I pull the hinge off, I can stick the screws right back exactly in the same hole they came out of. Then I'll run a piece of tape over the top of it, and there's no question but where the screws had been. It's less important with post-industrial revolution fasteners that are mass-produced rather than back in the antiques where you have none of the screws were exactly the same and you want to get them exactly back in the right hole. But it's a good practice. It's something that I always do with my screws. So this hinge now is ready to come out, and there it is. And I've marked this hinge with an F for front, which has already fallen off. I'll have to remark it. But that way I'll know that this is the front hinge, and the screws will be in it, and there'll be no question but where it goes when it comes time to put it back together. The other thing to be real careful of is these slot head screws have been in there for over 100 years. Take some time and clean out the grooves a little bit, either with the edge of your screwdriver or a pick or something, just to get any dirt out of there, because you want to get a real good purchase on these and push straight down as you twist. You don't want to strip the heads off of these old screws. Okay, moving forward. And we're working on the inside lid hinges, and I've got this little pick, and this is what I mean about cleaning out these screw slots to get the best purchase you can before you start to torque and twist on these, because as anybody knows, slot head screws can easily strip. The heads can strip out, so you want to take a second and get the most purchase that you can, and all it takes is just a second with a pick or even the side of your screwdriver. And with the screw out, there we go. That's one of the dog hinges that holds. So now I flip the machine on its top, and I'm going to disassemble the rest of the machine. We'll take these drawer frames out. You can see they're held in with 2 screws, and they hook to the frame with these little assemblies. That's come a little bit loose. We'll tighten that up. And I'm working on getting this little assembly. It's basically a little bracket that hooks the bottom of the drawer case to the frame. And for some reason, both of these screws have been peened over. You can see this one here and this one here as well. And I can't get a screwdriver blade in there. And I don't want to run the risk of stripping these heads. So I tried using a small cold chisel to open them up, and that didn't work. So what I'm going to have to do is just take this little tiny hacksaw blade. You can see this is back up here, just a little handheld hacksaw. And I'll run this blade through this groove just enough to open it up so that we can get a screwdriver blade in there. And our little technique has worked, and we're able to get these screws out. And the drawer assembly comes up. Now if you ever take one of these apart, you can see here there's these curves cut into these rails. That's for your screwdriver to get down onto the screws. They're cut in the front end and in the back. But I use a very long screwdriver. I don't know, that must be just long at least. And that allows me to get down through the drawer and get those off. And with the drawer cases removed, you can see that the entire cast iron base treadle assembly is held on with 4 screws, 1 at each corner. And then the garage, I'm sorry, I don't remember what it's called, is held on with these L brackets, and then everything is stripped off. So I'll pull the rest of this off and I'll bring you back. Okay, the machine's completely disassembled. This is the main top, of course. This is where we're going to do the majority of our loose veneer repair. And we're starting the veneer repairs. In any place we have loose veneer, what we want to do is run a tool under there to make sure that we've identified all the entire area that's loose and where the glue has been compromised. And then using whatever tools we can get in there, start to break loose and pick out any of the loose glue or dirt or foreign objects or foreign material that's gotten in there, so that when we inject our new glue and clamp it, it has a nice clean surface to adhere to. And remember, there's both the substrate and the underside of the veneer that needs to be cleaned. And I hope you can see we're starting to pull out some crumbled old glue and dirt and all sorts of stuff in there. So that has to be done along every veneer crack prior to gluing it back down. And this is as far as I've got my knife inserted in this crack, and you can see how far up that veneer crack has compromised. It's quite a ways up there. By the way, I think this is for frosting cakes or something. I bought it at Goodwill. It's handy as heck. So anyways, we've got that pretty well cleaned out. I'm going to blow that out with some compressed air and move on to the next one, and then we'll start with multiple glue. And we had two seams, well not seams, two cracks on this side that had raised up. In other words, instead of laying flat, they had come up like this. And we need to get those as flat as we can. And this isn't an issue really where the glue is failing here. Perhaps a little bit. I don't know if this was an older repair. So anyways, what had happened here is the veneer had curled up at this seam. Whether it had been glued down and the glue was too thick and it was laying on it or whatever. But before we can get this flat, we have to make room so the two edges of the veneer can butt together. If they're too tight, they're going to buckle up on each other. So what I did is I took this scraper and very, very carefully, this with another, any other sharp tool I had, and just dragged it right down this seam. And you can see I'm bringing up dust and dried glue and basically just dirt from over the years. And when that's all out of there, what we'll do is heat this up, try to reactivate the glue that's under there, and then clamp it down very, very hard across here. And I'll probably also try to force some glue in there before I do that, and see if we can get those buckled up pieces to lay flat and give us a nice flat seam. Alrighty, we're ready to start to try to get these two veneer cracks to lay back down. They've been cleaned out, they've been blown out. What I'm going to do next with the heat gun is heat them up to try to activate whatever glue is along these edges, and then I'm going to apply some yellow glue, press it down with my finger, lay these clamping cauls on it, which I've covered in shipping tape so they don't stick, and then clamp them down with some hand screws and some regular clamps, and apply as much pressure as I can and see if we can get those to lay back down. So here we go. This heat will also help relax the wood. And it actually looks like with the heat it's already laying down. You're probably asking, how hot do I want to get this? I don't know. But that's already closing up down there. But it's just about so hot I can't touch it. Now the idea here is to push this yellow glue in and try to catch any unglued edges of this veneer. Wipe off any excess. Let's heat it up one more time and then we'll throw our clamps on. It may be tough for you guys to see, but to me it looks like this is just already laying flat just from the heat, which is super cool. Okay, there we go. Looks like a clamp exhibition at a woodworker's show. But this is how we're going to clamp up the veneer on that real bad end of this top. I wish I could tell you it was done. This is just the clamping plan. I just ran through it and make sure I had everything covered. I got one little adjustment I got to make, and then we'll take it all apart. We'll glue everything and then apply all these clamps and cawls. Well, I guess it's time to earn our pay, and let's get this glue up done. I've decided I'm going to do that whole piece at once, since it seems like every piece of loose veneer is connected to the next. So here's what we got ready to go. We got a damp rag. I've got 2 sizes of glue syringes loaded up and ready to go. I've got a brush, I've got a stick, I've got this long cake thing that I use for veneer. I've got a little veneer knife. I've got quite a little bit of glue in a container here. I've got a roller. I've got all my blocks and clamps ready to go, and the compressed air is at the ready. So let me get you up in the stand, and we'll start from this side and work our way that way. Fingers crossed and wish me luck. So in the immortal words of Jackie Gleason, and here we go. Okay, it's down. Tomorrow I'm either going to be a hero or have one heck of a mess to fix.